Hi guys, my name's Craig. Welcome to Small Farmer Life. As usual, hope you're all having an awesome day. And today guys, I'm going to talk about the importance of getting a good conveyancing solicitor to actually deal with the purchase of some land. Now, if you're just buying a piece of land and you're green and you've never done it before, well, you need to know all the pitfalls that you can come across when buying some land. Like, have you seen these chickens here? They're just getting a dust bath in the middle of a field on a molehill, and they're prime for fox meat. Now, I don't want them to get eaten by the fox, but they're making stupid mistakes by being in the middle of a full field where the fox den is at the bottom of the railway. But when it comes to buying land, you want to make sure that your land purchase goes through smoothly. And solicitors, conveyancing solicitors, are covered by professional indemnity insurance. Now, if something goes wrong, and it's partly you that has to make sure everything runs smoothly, not just them. So you need to make sure you've got all your questions you want to ask first. But a good conveyancing solicitor will do all the digging they have to do to find out if there's any problem with the purchase or the sale of that land. Now, you can make a claim for all sorts of different reasons. I mean, there's just a plethora of reasons you can make a claim for. Now, when I purchased this land, there was about 5 people before me who tried to purchase this land. But they all spoke to the neighbours, and all the neighbours said they didn't have a right of access. But there was a right of access. They just didn't dig hard enough, or they didn't get a solicitor to find out if there was a right of access to this piece of land. So I got an awesome deal because there was a right of access. I just got the right solicitor and done the right amount of investigation into the land to find out if it did have vehicle access. Now, that was the most important thing to me. But for you, it could be something totally different. Now, you might look at a piece of land and it's got vehicle access when you go and look at that piece of land. But that doesn't mean to say that the vehicle access is on the title deeds or it's going to be sold with the piece of land itself. And if a solicitor isn't doing the right due diligence when they're looking at the piece of land and buying the piece of land on your behalf, then they might miss that. You might buy a piece of land and find out that there's no right to vehicle access, and all you've got is a piece of farmland that you can only access on foot. So you need to understand that finding a good conveyancing solicitor in your town, now it might be that you know somebody who's used a certain solicitor, it might be that the solicitor you're looking at has got a good reputation. Don't go for the cheapest option, because you'll find they might just flip through the deeds, ask you a few questions and say, are you happy with buying this land as it is? You say yes, put pen to paper. Now, it's got nothing to do with them. You said you wanted to buy the land, so you're not covered by their professional insurance. But if you ask them a lot of questions, told them what you exactly wanted to do with the land, and then something arose that you specifically asked about and you wanted written into the contract, and it's in the contract, but all of a sudden you find out you're not allowed to do it because that conveyancing solicitor didn't go back and read all the deeds that were attached at one time or another to that piece of land. And there can be lots and lots of deeds. One set of deeds might reference another set of deeds. That set of deeds might reference another set of deeds. So you need to understand that getting a good conveyancing solicitor and making sure the land purchase goes through smoothly is up to you as well as the solicitor. Because like I say, if you just ask the solicitor to buy a piece of land for you, don't ask them to do any digging into, is there any restrictions, is there any covenants, is there any right of access, and all this sort of thing. Well, they can just buy that land on your behalf, thinking that you already know everything that's involved with buying that piece of land. Now, like I say, you might not be an expert in buying a piece of land. You've never done it before, so you wouldn't know what to ask. Me, I had a load of questions written down, ready to ask the solicitor, and making sure that the solicitor did all the digging that needed to be done before I purchased this piece of land. And thankfully, everything came back hunky-dory. For you, it might not be the same. Now, what type of things could you make a claim against the solicitor for? Well, for one, not doing all the searches on, let's say, restrictions on the land. You might have asked them to do that. You might have asked them to check all the covenants that could be attached to that piece of land. So any restrictive covenants that could be attached to the piece of land. Maybe you've asked them, is there a right of way for vehicles? And does it go all the way to the piece of land that you're buying? Make sure they check that. Make sure it's in the contract. Not advising you to obtain a survey on the land. Not knowing where the boundary is on the land. And believe me, I've seen a boundary issue just around the corner from me where they were arguing literally over an inch or two. And that's what you need to understand. You need to understand that that solicitor, and you might be rushing the sale through, and the solicitor might be saying, listen, I've got to go through so many sets of deeds, because sometimes they have a lot of sets of deeds to actually go through. So you need to make sure that they're doing it properly. So buyer beware, if you rush them and something goes wrong, and that's because you rushed them, well, you won't have a leg to stand on if you make a claim, because you rushed them and you just said you wanted to buy that piece of land. Now, you won't get the full price or full value of the piece of land if you make a claim. You'll probably get the decrease in the value of the piece of land because of what the solicitor has done or failed to do because you asked them to do that thing. Now, there's all sorts of restrictions and covenants and other things that can affect a land purchase. Like, it could be that there's mineral rights you don't own on that land, but the land itself sat on a big gravel bed or something, and there's a good chance that somebody could come along down the line and want to mine that gravel, and you don't have no right to stop them. Now, you can be compensated for it, but you don't have an actual right to stop them because you're not buying the mineral rights. So if you found gold underneath your land, very unlikely in the UK, then that wouldn't belong to you. That would belong to the person who put that mineral rights covenant on the land. But there's other things that you could make a claim for, like not properly investigating the title deeds, not removing a charge from the title deeds after a land purchase has gone through. So you might own the piece of land, it might be in your name, but it's still got a charge, which is technically a mortgage on the title deeds of that piece of land. Now, how can that happen? Well, the person who sold the piece of land has to pay off the charge, which is the mortgage. Then the conveyancing solicitor has to get in contact with the land registry and the bank who give the mortgage on that land, tell the bank, you've had the money for the mortgage, can you remove the charge on that piece of land so the land transfer can go through smoothly and you can get the land put in your name and you'll be owning it title absolute, which is the best form of land ownership in the UK. So make sure, guys, honestly, that you pick the right conveyancing solicitor to actually do the purchase of a piece of land. Make sure you've got a list of questions. I'll put a list of questions in the description of this video that you want to make sure you ask the solicitor to do any searches on your behalf. Make sure that everything is up to par. Make sure the job's done right, so you don't have to worry about the land later on down the line and something going wrong after you invest a lot of money in the land. Because that's another thing. If something goes wrong later on down the line and you've put lots of buildings up and that sort of thing on the land, then find out you don't have a right of way over a certain farm track, and it can happen, guys. People might use a farm track to access a piece of land, and they could have used it for 5, 10 years, But that doesn't mean to say it's on the deeds. Now, they might let the previous owner use that access track to access the land, but they don't want you to use it. And they can stop you straight away from using that access track to access the land if they own the access track. And it's them who will grant you a right over the access track, not the seller of the piece of land. Just because they use that access track doesn't mean to say you are allowed to use the access track, unless they've been using it for around about 20-25 years without any interruption from the person who owned the access track. If that happens, then you can claim sort of adverse possession on the access itself and get it put into the title deeds of the land purchased. But guys, like I say, it's really important. Don't stinge out and not want to pay the conveyancing solicitor because they're a little bit more expensive than the little backstreet one who isn't going to do any research for you, isn't going to follow up on any questions that you want them to answer, or any digging that you want them to do into the actual land itself. Because, like I say, deeds can reference other deeds that can reference other deeds. Mine do. And believe me, I was on my solicitor's back when it came to selling a piece of land that I owned over there. And he just said, because it's been broke up so many times, there was so many sets of deeds to go through. And obviously the person who was buying the land wanted to make sure that they had a vehicle access to that piece of land. And if they didn't have the vehicle access, well, obviously they wouldn't have purchased a piece of land. So it's really important, guys, that you make sure you do that. Anyway, guys, just a quick video to tell you how important it is. But if something does go wrong, you have asked the questions, you've made them put it into the contract, you want it put on your title deeds in some cases. Not everything can be put on your title deeds, but some things can, like your vehicle access and that sort of stuff. But the contract, it can be put in there, you sign it, the seller signs it, and the solicitor oversees the contract. And if something goes wrong and the solicitor didn't do the job and it's in the contract, well, you can make a malpractice, negligence claim sort of thing on the solicitor's professional insurance and get some of your money back, if not all of your money back, or loss of earnings and that sort of thing, because the solicitor didn't do what you asked them to do. Anyway, guys, my name's Craig. You've been watching The Small Farmer Life. As always, guys, thanks to my patrons. Couldn't thank you guys enough. Make sure you take care of yourself. Most of all, take care of the family. Be genuine. Bye for now. See you.